Hey everybody, Josh Sheridan here with the Barely Legal Podcast.
They demand my alter ego, but I won't go because
On today's show is a very special guest. Her name is Dina Busciglio Sheridan. Am I saying that right? My wife, Dina Busciglio Sheridan. She puts the Busciglio in the Busciglio Sheridan Law Group. She's nice enough to stop by today. Actually, she's here because she sits on the board for Friends of Joshua House, and they're planning their annual event. So, two birds with one stone, but I've been wanting to have her on for some time and talk to her about her history, her experience in the practice of law, being a professional mom and an attorney at the same time, some of the other stuff that she's into. And
I thought you were going to say professional model.
well, that is what I mean. That part goes without saying. So anyway, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So this is going to be weird because it's a different dynamic than usual. We're not talking about taking clothes off the steps and when the trash needs to be out at the curb.
Oh my God.
So anyway, most people who listen to the show probably know who you are, but for those who don't, I wanted to kind of go through your history. And so, where were you born?
I was born right here in Tampa. I am a fourth generation Tampa Floridian.
So Basiglio, that's Italian, right?
Yes, Sicilian actually. And being from Tampa, everybody you meet is Italian or Sicilian, or they say they're Sicilian, but I've always doubted it. Like, am I really Sicilian? Is that really the truth, or is that just what everybody in Tampa says? But then I did. It's funny because you know all these stories already, but
Pretend like you don't.
I know, right? But I
Pretend like you don't like me. Which won't be
pretend
that
like you
hard to
never
do.
listen. That's not that
Yeah.
hard to do. You don't listen to my stories. Um, no, but I took one of those ancestry tests, and then both of my brothers. I have three brothers, but two of them took an ancestry test too, and literally we all came back like 58% Sicilian, and not even just Italian. I mean, it like zoned right in on Sicily and like a province area where my family is from. So
Yeah, like
they've been telling us the truth all
lit
these
up
years.
like a Christmas tree.
It
at the
did.
intersection
I mean,
of pizza and calzone.
Yeah, we gotta eat pasta every Sunday. It's by the rules.
So, but your mom is Spanish, right?
Yes, she's Spanish and
Spain Spanish.
Spain Spanish and a little bit of Cuban. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's an interesting story, and I kind of remember it, but I don't fully remember it. About didn't their grandparents meet on the beach before they met? There's something about like the families interacting with each other years before they actually met each other. Do you know that story?
Well, my parents met on the beach in Anna Maria.
Right.
When they were 15 years old. But as folklore has it, and I do wish I knew more of the details, but yes, like one set of my grandparents came over from their respective country, but from the same town,
Right.
and then met here in Tampa,
Right.
having never met where they were originally from. And actually, I said my grandparents. It's actually my great great grandparents.
Now, also, you have a pretty famous relative, isn't that?
Oh yeah, my grandmother's grandfather. So this is on my dad's side. My grandmother's grandfather and Frank Sinatra's father were brothers. So my grandmother's mother's last name is Sinatra.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
So you are one of how many siblings,
I'm one of six.
and where do you fall in that lineup?
I'm the fourth, and we go boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl.
And your father is a what does he do for a living?
Yeah. You're leading the witness
Sorry,
here, pal.
objection,
This is not like your
objection.
normal interview. My dad was an orthodontist, one of the very first in Brandon, Florida, for many, many years, and he's only kind of recently retired. Not super recently, but
He was in the Air Force first, right?
oh yeah, he was in the Air Force as a captain because he was in dental school. But first, he was actually a pharmacist, and he was at UF. And then he went to medical school in Virginia, or excuse me, dental school, and he basically worked 40 hours a week, worked two jobs, and was the top of his class in everything he did. And he had two kids at that time. It was just kind of amazing.
I don't know if you remember this, but I think we figured out that there was at least a 1 or 2 year period of time where both of our dads were at University of Florida at the same
Oh
time.
yeah, that's true.
My
Yep.
dad was a little bit older than your dad, but it lined up to where there was like about a 2 year overlap.
Yeah.
So pharmacist, then Air Force, then dental school, and they lived in like Boston and where all did they live?
Yeah, they lived in Virginia and they lived in Boston and Florida.
And when they were up north, they had your oldest brother Mike and your oldest sister Debbie, right?
Right.
And then there was a 10-year gap, and then
9 years basically.
okay, and so then after Debbie, it's
Brian.
okay. And what's Brian do? Where does he live?
Brian is a medical doctor. He lives in Chicago with his awesome wife, Kristen, who everyone loves. And then it was me, I'm next. And then my brother Derek is younger than me. He is an orthodontist and has
What's the name of his business?
it's Busciglio Smiles, a really thriving, awesome practice in Brandon. He has also a Plant City location and now also a Fish Hawk location. And then my youngest sister is Dana. She's also an orthodontist and a pediatric dentist, and is one of like a handful in the whole state that has 2 certifications and specialties in the dental
We
field.
call her the triple doctor in the
Right,
family. Yeah.
exactly. And she's got a really beautiful brand new facility in Fish Hawk, excuse me, and they're awesome.
I Heart Smiles.
I Heart Smiles.
That's right. So let's go back. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the cheerleading. Your sister Debbie was the first in the family to kind of go down that path, right?
Yep. Yeah, she tried out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cheerleaders when I don't even know if I was in high school yet, because she cheered for a few years and then she encouraged me to try out. I was kind of shy growing up, like really shy, like a bookworm. Literally, like that's what my family remembers of me growing up, is being a bookworm. All I wanted to do was be left alone, be in a corner, be reading. And I'm in a family of 6 kids. There's kids running around like crazy, but I was super quiet and shy, very shy. So she wanted me to come join her, and so I tried out when I was a senior in high school.
What year would that have been?
That was in 1992.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Academy of Holy Names, which is an all-girls Catholic
So
school.
you were at Academy of Holy Name when you tried out for the Bucs?
Yep.
That's kind of a contradiction, or
Well, there wasn't anybody else that I knew on the team or had been on the team prior. After I did, there were a couple of girls that did try out and make it. I
trendsetter.
think, yeah, I'm trying to think. A girl named Ashley Statz and another girl named Laura Hansen Newberg. But Laura, I think, was a year older than me. But I feel like she tried out after me. But anyway, I mean, I'm not saying that there's never been an Academy alum before me, but I just didn't know of any. Yeah, maybe prior to me.
Who was coaching when Debbie started cheering? Do you remember?
Coaching the Buccaneers?
Yeah.
Sam Weish.
Okay. So
Yeah.
who was on the team? Was that like Testaverde years?
Testaverde was there, I think, but in her years. And then when I made the team, I made it when I was 17. I was one of the youngest. I think the youngest on
Was
the
that
team.
93?
That was 92.
92.
Because you just had to be 18 by the time the season started, which I would be, but the tryouts are like usually in like March or April.
Right.
So anyway, so yeah, I trying to think of who the quarterback. Oh, Dilfer was big
Trent
when I
Dilfer,
was,
that's right, yeah.
cheering, and I went on to cheer from 92 through the 97 season to 98.
So 7 years, 6 years?
Yeah, but with a year off in the middle there somewhere.
Why'd you take a year off in the middle?
I didn't make the team.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't make the
I
team.
don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and
Did they change management or something? That's kind of weird.
no, did they? No, they didn't. But I'm trying to remember what happened. There was a lot of change because we started to go into the new colors and stuff. We weren't there yet, but it was I don't remember if it was the regime change from the Culver houses to the Glazers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of things were in flux during that time. But I did try out again, and actually the director called me and asked me to try out again. So that
Yeah.
was very flattering because
That's awesome.
I was, kind of devastated that I didn't make it back that one year. But she called me and I made it back, and then I became a captain and had a really great success after that. And then I actually got to wear not only the creamsicle colors, but then I got to transition to the black and red. So I got
You got
to do
pictures in both outfits.
I do, yeah. That's pretty cool. Some of the girls now get to do that. They wear throwback uniforms, which are super cool. They're like based on the 70s original.
That's cool. Tall, knee-high white boots and
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we wore white knee-high boots too, but in the 90s. But they haven't done that in the more recent years, they're kind of getting a little more trendy, which is cool. I mean, they're really kind of cutting edge now.
Yeah.
And I still work with the team, and I love it. And I love the director, and I love what they're doing.
Who were some of the players during your time there that you knew?
Warren Sapp,
Okay.
John, help me
Lynch?
out. Lynch, yes, he was
A-Train?
awesome. Oh my God, Mike Allstott, yeah, he
Yeah.
was huge, and we were kind of friends, sort of,
He
you
was
know.
friends with Bobby, kind of, wasn't he?
Yeah, a friend
Yeah.
of mine, Bobby.
Yeah.
Because they both lived out in St. Pete, so she knew him
I
too.
remember he had A-Train Pizza out in St. Pete. we used to
Yep,
go to.
super nice guy. I'm trying to think. I mean, it was pretty awesome team
Derek Brooks?
back then. Derek Brooks, and then who's the twins?
Barbers.
Yes, the Barbers.
Yeah.
So as Rondé was on
Yeah,
our
Tiki
team.
was the Giants and Rondé was the Bucs.
Yeah, and I remember one time we went to like a I think it was a Gasparilla parade, and afterwards somehow we all ended up on like an RV, the players and the cheerleaders, and we ended up taking the RV, which was like a Buccaneers paid for RV, and we went to the airport so that Rondé could pick up Tiki. And then we all hung out. Now, we're not really supposed to hang out with the players, but I mean, we were at an officially sanctioned event and like getting transportation out of there. It was just a little detour that
Right.
probably weren't supposed to take, but it was all good, clean fun.
Now, at some point during your tenure there, you started to go to USF, right?
Yep.
All right. When did
Well,
you
I
start?
was, yeah. No, I mean, as
Did you
soon
start
as,
USF right away?
Right away.
Oh, I thought you took a break.
no, I didn't take any break.
Okay.
I started right away, college, and I went into the honors college at USF, which was good because, you know, I'm coming from a class where I literally had 69 girls in my graduating class, and there's like 69,000 people at USF, but in the honors program, it's a lot smaller. And I mean, I was in very small classes geared towards people that could make it into that a little more rigorous of a program. And I loved that too. I was kind of with my fellow nerds there.
Did you cheer at all with USF?
I did, but there wasn't a football team when I was in college through pretty much the whole time that I was at college. The USF football team came into existence, I believe, 97 was the inaugural season. So 98, when I stopped doing Bucs, I tried out for the Sundolls, which is the Bulls dance team, and I made that. And then I was on the field again, but now in the new stadium, because now it wasn't the Tampa Stadium anymore, the big sombrero. Now it was Raymond James, which actually had a lot of iterations before it was Raymond James. Houlihan's being one of the least favorite names it had. Very short, now defunct.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to cheer in the new stadium, but as now a college cheerleader, which was kind of crazy because I went backwards, you know. Most people do college then NFL.
But one of the things that was cool about that too is you got to cheer the first year they had a football team, and who was on the first year of the football team?
Right. Well, actually,
Am I missing a part there?
timeline wise, 97 was the inaugural season, and I started cheering 98.
Okay.
But yes, my brother Derek Busciglio, he was a walk-on player who literally just kept putting his face in front of the coach. I think he did play some football in high school, but I'm trying to think. He wasn't really like affiliated. He was an all-star wrestler and third in the state for wrestling, but he was a walk-on, and I don't know how all the politics of that are for trying out for. But you know, he didn't come on through the regular channels anyway.
Right.
It's much harder to be a walk-on player
scholarship
like
or
that.
anything like that.
Right, exactly. And he just kept putting his face in front of Jim Levitt, who was the coach at the time, and made the team after just persevering and became a starter and was a starter in the inaugural season. So then I started cheering the second year, 98 season, and I was on the field there with him, which was super cool. And
Your family went nuts because they were front and center for you cheering and him playing, and that made Saturdays pretty interesting.
It was
Yeah.
so awesome. In fact, my mom still has the poster. She made a Dina dance poster, which she would hold up every time I would cross, because cheerleaders in big games like that, you travel from each corner around the field as the game goes.
Like rotate, like clockwise or counterclockwise from corner to corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
During the game, each quarter, you switch sides or
Okay.
switch corners. So you're kind of working the whole stadium. So every time I would cross over, and they were right there on the front row behind the players' bench. So it was really cute. She would hold up her little sign. But then she also had a go number 93, which is my brother's number. And I would, when I passed the bench, I would try to catch my brother's eye. But anybody that knows anybody that's
Leave
like
the
an
players
elite,
alone,
yeah, an elite athlete, you really just don't want to bother them. They have like their superstitions and their focus, and they'll get in trouble too from their coaches. So
If I'm looking down, I'm not bored by you. I'm just making sure that I'm actually recording, so don't stress out.
yeah, I'm like, oh God, he's
No,
heard these
it's
stories.
like, oh, I've already lost him. No, I just had this fear of looking down and 30 minutes in, so
Right.
we're not recording. So, what did you major in college?
My major, originally I was going kind of pre-med because I was working in my dad's office in the lab, and my dad was an orthodontist.
Making trays and all that stuff.
Yep, I was doing X-rays. I was doing impressions and pouring impressions and plaster and helping with all the stuff that you do back in the lab. Anyway, and I love doing it. I did that since I was 15 years old. I really was enjoying it. And then Derek, obviously, well, not obviously, but he started to work with me later on down the line. So we had a blast back in the lab. But in school, I was not doing well in the sciences. And I mean, I was a straight A plus, A plus, A plus since kindergarten, literally. And I was starting to do really bad in school, starting in college now. And so, in true, like lawyer-like fashion, I went to the guidance counselor at USF, and I'm like, give me every test you have that shows aptitude for future employment. And they did. I took a bunch of tests, and they all came back lawyer, and I had never once thought about becoming a lawyer.
You're the only lawyer in the family, right?
Only one, yep. So that's how I ended up thinking about law school. And as soon as I
You were
did
an
that,
English major, right?
well, then I changed over
Okay.
to being an English major, yes, professional and technical writing. And my minor was actually sign language because
That's what I was going to ask you, because you do, it's ASL or American Sign Language?
American Sign Language, yeah. Because you have to, in college, you have to have a language. There's a language requirement.
Sure.
Well, I went in, you have to take a test that tests your aptitude so you can see where you score and so what class would you fit into. Well, I took Spanish knowing that I would do well at it, but I wanted to actually CLEP out of it. I don't even know what that CLEP stands for.
God, I don't think I've heard that word
I
since
know,
I used
right?
it in college, yeah.
It stands for something. Somebody will have to Google it, but
Yeah.
I think it's like an acronym, right?
Probably, yeah.
So I was trying to mess up on several things so I could still take Spanish, but not level 1. I wanted to do a little bit higher level of Spanish.
Right.
Well, I CLEP'd out of all levels of Spanish. I still knew too much. So then I picked American Sign Language, and it was awesome. It was like a cultural experience. And when you take ASL, at least at USF where I did, the teachers are deaf.
Right.
So you go into the classroom, and I mean, it's immersion. And they also want you to go out into the public and go to things where there are deaf people, where there's a deaf community, and interact. I mean, there's actually groups and clubs of deaf people that gather at malls and bowling alleys, and you can go and be with them and practice your ASL. It was just beautiful. There were some beautiful people there, and I learned so much about discrimination against deaf people and even just the verbiage that's used about them,
Definitely
impaired
makes you
and
more aware of their reality than most people are or would otherwise be.
for sure. And things like cochlear ear implants that as hearing people, we think, oh, okay, that's great. They can hear now. Well, but that wasn't always the case. It's been forced on deaf people that don't necessarily want to have that. And sometimes the hearing they get from that is not good hearing. And they can communicate much more fluently with their hands. And there was so much stigma against using their hands back in the older times where they would actually tie their hands or do horrible things to them so they couldn't speak with their hands. And I mean, unbelievable. And just the language is so beautiful and fluent. I just met some amazing people learning that.
So, through that process, it started to become more clear that you want to do law, or did you have any other ideas about what you wanted to do?
I always loved reading and editing. And in fact, through school, starting in college at USF, I kind of came across a con law class, and I was really flourishing in it. And in that class with the teacher, and I think his name was Professor Brown, but I'm trying to remember, great teacher. And we actually started the first ever law review at USF using essays written by the con law class kids, and I was the editor in chief.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. I have a copy of that somewhere. And then I did editing also in law school too, as a teacher's aide.
Anytime we sit down at a restaurant and look at a menu or look at a billboard or watch a TV commercial or Dina's.
I know. It's not good.
Yeah. So, did you know you wanted to go to Stetson right off the bat, or did you kind of have some schools that you were hoping for, or how many did you apply to? What was that process like?
Yeah, well, I had applied originally for undergrad to UF and USF and all these other schools. But as soon as I made Bucs Cheerleader, that kind of made my decision for me to stay home. But for law school, I just applied at a lot of places, and all the Florida schools accepted me right off the bat. FSU was actually the first one, and I was really close to going to FSU. They were really great. I really enjoyed that. But once I toured Stetson, it just felt like home. It was very comfortable, beautiful campus, and like I've always been a homebody at heart, so
Yeah.
it was fine for me to stay home.
Are you-
Looking back, I kind of wish I would have traveled somewhere else because I do love to travel now,
Right.
but it was a
Would have
great
met
school.
a better class of men at
No,
schools out
that's true. I would have never met you, and that
This-
that has changed my life for the best, and I am the luckiest girl
there.
ever.
I appreciate you saying so, and I agree. I agree in reverse. Ditto. It was the best decision I ever made. But anyway, so Stetson, how was that experience for you?
Oh my gosh, absolutely loved it. I mean, I can't even talk about my law school experience without talking about you because
I know this was probably an aggregate of 5 minutes that we weren't together for
I
the entirety
mean,
of the time.
yeah, like literally the orientation day we saw each other and it was just an instant thing and
I was much thinner and had shorter hair, and no gray hair.
I dig the man bun, so
I
I
know.
don't care what people say about
I told
this.
Dina today I was wanting to go to the gym more so I get swole up from the hole up. She said maybe you can get thin down from the chin down. So.
Okay, I didn't
Between
know
those
you were
two
going to
things-
share that.
Well, that reflects more poorly on me than
No, but I don't want people to think I'm like
No,
judgmental
no,
of you, and I
no.
said it with like a heart
She's-
emoji or
she's-
something.
She's very sweet. She's very sweet.
I adore
um,
you, you know that.
In law school, though, did you find that you were drawn more to the writing? Did you find that you were drawn more to the analysis, the communicating orally, the jury trial? What was that kind of appeal to you?
Oof. Reading those cases was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of pages of reading a night of these cases, and then you go into class, and then the teacher asks you about a footnote. You're like, what? I read all that,
Yeah.
and you're asking me about number 6?
And your highlighter bill must have been.
Oh my
insane.
God, I'm a highlighter like nobody. I might as well not highlight, and then it'll really
Yeah.
accentuate what I need to know
Right,
because,
right.
yeah, no, it was very stressful for me. Totally different way of thinking and learning. So, and not to mention, just falling in love with you was so distracting that it was the most amazing time because we would study together till midnight, shut the library down every single night.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of it was a struggle.
I always joke those first few weeks before we started dating, we were like crushing it and then just tanked for the remaining 2.5 years of
Oh
law
my
school.
God, you almost went on academic probation.
I went on academic probation.
Oh, you did?
Oh, sure. I still remember Bobby Flowers and I think it was Professor Finch and who was
Was
she
it
was
a dean?
Yeah, she's a dean now, but was she a dean then? What's the name of the person I'm trying to think
Well,
of?
it's not Dean Howell. It was
No.
yes, she wrote the book on
Yes.
Yes. Well, you're getting me off, but people out there don't know what I'm talking about. The book on citations.
The Blue Book.
Yes, we know you, we love you. We're just blanking right now.
So, but anyway, at
Yeah.
some point, trial team enters the picture. And
Yes.
you and I kind of had a different trajectory. On trial team.
Yeah, because you are so comfortable. And let me just take a side note. Let me take a footnote right now and just say, you are such a natural at doing this. I am overwhelmed, impressed how wonderful you are. You are so comforting to the guests. You make it such a good flow. This is like an unbelievable fit for you. I can't even believe you don't get paid billions of dollars to do
Well,
this.
if
'Cause you
anybody's
should.
got billions of dollars,
Yes.
I'm happy to take some advertising.
Joe Rogan, call us.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, you're such a natural speaking, and you're such a commanding presence in the courtroom to this day, and you always have been. So you try out for trial team in normal fashion, right? There's a trial team audition. Basically, we go in. You have to I think you just had to argue one side of a case, right? Basically, give a closing argument.
Closing argument, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you nailed it. They picked you right off the spot. You go in, you're on the trial team. Boom. Me, not so much. So now you're on the trial team. You and me have done everything together, literally. I mean, we've played flag football. We've been school ambassadors. Every club you're part of, I'm part of, vice versa. I think more so I dragged you into all the clubs.
Yeah, but for you, I'm sitting in front of a TV playing, Madden or something.
So I'm watching you do all this stuff, and I had tried out and not made the team. FYI, I forgot to mention that. So then what I start doing is just going to all the trial team practices. They need witnesses to play so that they can practice on. So I'm playing all the witnesses. Now, these are like, nobody wants to do this part, It's thankless. You're sitting there for hours in courtrooms after school. You have piles and piles of homework to read. But I'm just trying to show that I really want to be there, right? So I do that. I go in the trial team closet where they keep all their easels and their boards and their markers, and I'm cleaning everything up. By the way, they didn't ask me to do any of this.
No, you showed some initiative.
I went in
gumption.
and just cleaned all their stuff up behind them. I mean, I'm just making myself available as a witness, and lo and behold, I get asked to be on the team. I just thought about this. Now it's a theme. I was asked to come back for the Bucs Cheerleaders. I'm asked to come to this. But that was so cool. So they asked me to come back. I get picked to be an advocate, which is basically a lawyer speaking role, with another female attorney in a Florida state championship competition. And I go in, first competition, win.
Was that Andrea Antalik, or who was?
No, that was Ligera Champagne, was my
Ligera Champagne,
co-counsel.
that's right.
Yep. So we go in, my first competition out, I win state championship, and I beat the other team that I beat. Well, we beat many teams to get there, but in the finals, it was an all-guy team from Stetson.
Wow.
Which was, Stetson's known as the number one trial.
Yeah, you beat the number one trial. You were a member of the number one
Yeah.
trial team, and you beat the number one trial team.
Exactly.
And this is the part of the story that we often don't tell to people. I got on right away. I never won a damn thing. You got on and won every friggin' competition you were in, and were asked back to coach the team. So,
well, that's true. I forgot about that.
Taking the whole story and the totality of the circumstances, to use the parlance of our times, I think you won out in that whole thing. So,
well, you're still a boss in the courtroom. I do well in the courtroom too.
Well, but I think it's pretty impressive, because you won a couple of them. You won one in Chicago. You won one in South Florida. Didn't you do one in D.C. or something?
No, I never went to D.C., but the team that I coached
I
graduated, they won number one. They got number one also.
You coached
Chester
Joel Elsay, and was it Kevin Humphreys? And
yeah, was he? Yeah, I think he was on the team. Yep, and a couple other people. I don't know if Andrea. She was
my partner.
Right.
When it was
she
Andy
was
Boland
awesome.
and Katie, can't remember her last name. But.
Yeah, we had some great people.
So
the team I beat was Sean Kelly, who we love, and Jim Garneri.
Garneri, yeah. Who's now a PI stud here locally.
Awesome people that we trained with,
Yeah. So then at some point along the way, how do you get involved with the state attorney's office?
Oh, well, you and I actually both applied as interns because they had a good internship program. You could be an intern with the public defender, with the state, with all different groups, but we picked the prosecutor's office and we interned there. And basically at the end of it, I remember...
I feel like ours didn't line up, though. Didn't we do it different semesters?
We could have. I don't know. I would have felt like we would have done it together. But Bill Bartlett?
Bruce Bartlett?
I'm sorry, Bruce Bartlett. Yeah, Bruce Bartlett. At the end, he was kind of like the head honcho hiring and firing. And he said, when I went into my interview, he's like, don't look anywhere else. You're hired. You're going to come on here after you graduate. So I didn't have to look anywhere.
I just remember because it was September 11th, and I was in elder law.
Oof, yeah.
Class with Rebecca Morgan.
Yep.
And you were working that day.
That's right.
And I was walking back from class through the, whatever that main building was with the mailboxes. What was that building?
Well, like by the Great Hall. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
But you turn around that corner and security's there.
Yep.
And they had that TV up there.
You're at Stetson University College of Law, and I'm at
You're at the
CJC,
state attorney's office.
The state attorney's office, yeah.
And so I'm walking back from elder law, walking through the building. I look up at the TV and see one of the Twin Towers with smoke shooting out of it.
Yeah.
And I called you.
Well, I had been in the courtroom, and
Right.
it was Judge, who was the one that did Domestic Violence Forever? Cadell. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh. So he's on the bench. I'm in there with my the person training me, Melissa McCullough.
Yeah.
And the judge just looks down at his computer, and he's like, guys, something's going on. And he's looking at his computer getting updates, and we're all panicking. So we basically shut the courtroom down. Me and Melissa run back to our office, and I remember being on the phone trying to find you. I mean, back then, did we even have our cell phones? Yeah, we had cell phones, right?
I didn't get a cell phone until, I don't think I had cell phone in law school yet.
I know I had a flip phone since
You did, 'cause
1992.
You're
I had a
you're
Razor.
bougie, but
Yeah, right?
yeah, I don't think I think I might have had one like the last time. But anyway, I remember being worried because you were in a government building and I didn't know like
Oh, that's true.
what the story was, and then that quickly turned of, can I use this to get out of working at the library that night?
Oh my God.
I started calling the library. It was like, do you guys think it's appropriate to be open tonight? Like, yeah, you got to come in. So I had to go sit and work the front desk on September 11th. But yeah, I always remember that. But for some reason, I don't think our time there. I know we started with the state attorney's office officially as employees
Okay.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I think
Maybe
we
you're
staggered
right.
a semester.
Okay.
But the other memory, and I was just talking about this yesterday with Trescott Gear, is, well, we could probably have a whole other episode about studying for the bar and taking the bar and like you being told that you couldn't take the bar on your computer
Oh,
when
my
that's how
Lord.
you practice. But
Yeah.
the day the results came in, I was in a trial, and I think it was with Mike Andrews or Amy Williams, and I was like giving a closing argument, and you like were in the vestibule, like through the window, giving me the thumbs up. I was like, yes.
Yes.
I
Yes, because
forgot
I was
the rest
able
of
to
my
check.
closing, but yeah.
I was able to check for both of us, and
Yeah.
we both passed, on both
Who
parts.
swore you in? Because Amy Williams swore me in. Who swore you in?
My dad's cousin.
Oh, that's
who-
right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, am I gonna forget Judge Frank? Okay, this is terrible.
It'll come to you in a minute.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, let's
got-
just note that like
oh.
half the judges in Tampa are Dina's cousins.
Oh
but,
man. Well.
we can.
Oh,
post-
that's just really horrible. Okay, and I need to like
You can look it up. On your phone.
preemptively apologize
No, it's
right
all
now because
We'll
he's
think of it
he's a
later.
wonderful guy.
Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
So then we both started at the state attorney's office at the same time. And how early? Neither of us did traffic court, right? Meaning we didn't have North or South County traffic.
No.
But you got I don't know if you got picked or how it happened, but you started doing the ordinance court.
Right, which was called the Love Court. Why was it
Local
called-
ordinance violation.
Oh yeah, local ordinance violation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, Love Court. But funnily enough, it was called that. And you'd put it if you were doing Love Court, you had a big heart that they would stick on the outside of your office, because it was all the stripper cases, all
Yeah.
the cases of where the police went in undercover and would bust strippers for having something that showed the cleavage of the nates of the human buttocks.
Yeah.
It was kind of ridiculous, and we'd have to like draw granny panties and on our exhibit boards. And me being a female, it was just kind of hilarious.
Well, it was not just strip clubs. It was Gandy Bridge and it was massage parlors too. And there was like two detectives whose job it was
Oh
to
man.
like get hit on or get approached.
Oh yeah. I
and-
I never felt real good about those,
But that's how we met Luke LaRoe and Curlin, right?
Yep.
The father's name is Roger.
No,
What's the son's name?
wait.
I always get him confused.
If you hadn't said Roger.
Sorry, we're getting old.
Yeah, but
David.
Yeah, David
Curlin.
Curlin, yeah.
David Curlin.
Great guy.
And so that was always on Friday afternoons, and you'd walk down the hallway on the third floor, and it was just, you got all the life right in your face.
Oh my God. And Curlin, he was a riot. Because, I'm a young female now working there, and he would be like, Miss Sheridan, can you demonstrate? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, the eye rolls, But I took it in stride because, he was being funny and, Lord knows I had come from being a Buccaneers cheerleader, which half the people in Tampa, every time I would go out in my uniform, thought I was a Hooters girl. So I
Right.
didn't take any offense.
So how many years did you work at the state attorney's office?
4. So
Okay.
you kind of have like a 3-year commitment. That's just kind of a moral commitment. There's no contract, but I did 4 years there, mainly doing domestic violence, which I actually really enjoyed.
You were in, was it Division D?
Felony Division D,
Yeah.
yeah. By the time I ended, yes, but I worked many other divisions throughout.
But I remember it was either Farnell or Gross that you ended on, your judge,
Oh, I think it was Farnell. You're right.
Deanna.
Deanna Farnell, awesome.
Yeah.
Loved her so much. I had one time a warrant. As a prosecutor, you get assigned duty, and that's usually on the weekends or overnights when there's
Off hours. You're
Right,
kind of
off
on call.
hours.
You're like the on-call attorney.
Right, exactly, for something that goes wrong, like murders and things like that. So there was a murder one of my duty nights, and Judge Farnell and her husband, who was also a judge, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in fact, it might have been him that actually was the duty judge. And I had to meet with homicide detectives and drive in like a speeding car with the warrant to their home in the middle of the night. They're both up in robes. I mean, the funny part is these homicide detectives are a riot. So we're driving just blowing every speed limit on the way.
Yeah.
We're in a squad car, no lights or sirens. I mean, no, we're just in an undercover, and there's those speed limit signs that
yeah.
say like, here's a speed limit, slow down. And he blew past that by like 20 miles per hour over and was like, oh, that's just a speedometer checker. They can get away with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, and interesting stuff. But love Deanna Farnell. She's great.
And then Gross actually got you your next job, right?
Yeah, he highly recommended me to a colleague who was, I think, also a friend of his in Tampa named Robert Trop. Great lawyer, great guy who's now retired.
What was the name of that firm?
That was Solomon Trop at the time.
So the partner.
Sandy Solomon and Robert Trop were the partners, yeah.
And that was a relatively short period there, but it seemed like, well, from my recollection, you learned a lot.
Oh my gosh. I mean, they do a lot of high dollar, high conflict cases, business transactions, family law, which is primarily what I did. And I did a smattering of criminal law cases that they had coming through there. But woo, yeah, they had some major clients, major situations. And the attorney that I kind of trained under, because I really hadn't done family law at all, was Matthew Thatcher, who is an absolute prince.
He's an encyclopedia of family law, and
what
just
a guy.
Gentleman through and through.
I love him dearly. That guy would be swamped with the most headache-inducing cases you can imagine, and I would walk in there with the dumbest question about how to do some routine motion in family law, and he would set everything aside, like literally physically take folders and close them up that he was furiously typing about, and look me in the eye and roll his chair back and how can I help you? I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. I just love him so much.
Trop was a character too, right? Some of the stuff that he taught you, I still use to this day.
That guy, I mean, he's like, they're all crazy except me and you, sugar.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the thing he would tell me, about clients and stuff, but good natured. I mean, he knew how to like close clients. He would just tell the clients, you don't have to hire me, but you really need to hire somebody.
Well, right. Wouldn't he come in and give them the names of like 3 other attorneys, and right away that client now needs to hire Robert.
Absolutely.
Because any attorney who's confident enough to turn business away, that's the one you want. I mean,
yep. And then
such a beautiful
right. And then as
so
soon as they would leave and we would walk back, we were walking back to our offices. He'd go, well, now you got another disciple on the street there. You see that? They're going to want to come back to you and they're going to talk about you now.
Well,
so he taught me a lot of cool stuff.
The one thing that he said that I always say is, you don't pay me to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you what you need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, God, that's so true, especially in family law. That's a conversation that I'm having hourly, if not daily, in family law.
And that's a service that you're doing to your clients, because the lawyers that just tell the client what they want to hear, what they're doing is prolonging the litigation. What they're doing is driving up the conflict. What they're doing is driving up the bills. So, we don't practice law like that. We're a little more straightforward, to where we want to help these people resolve their case in the most judicious way and get the best result.
Right.
I mean, that's what it's about for us.
Right. Then where did you go after Solomon Trop?
Well, then I worked a little bit for. Did we start was it Berkowitz Sheridan?
You
Sheridan?
came over to Berkowitz Sheridan.
Yep.
So that was Jesse Berkowitz, Joan Berkowitz, myself, and you.
Yep. And then that was kind of like the little seedling that ended up helping you and I branch out into Busciglio Sheridan. Yeah. Awesome.
And then what types of law were you focusing on?
And funnily enough, I rented this office space for another good friend of ours, Corey Baird. So, we've had Corey and Natalie Baird. I don't want to take it away from her either. It's just funny how the network of friends that we made in law school, we all have helped each other through the years, and so many of them are just so successful, so smart, judges, successful lawyers. It's just cool.
It's true. I mean, I think of Miriam Valkenburg, Francis Peroni, a lot in Pinellas, Keith Meyer, Susan St. John, Christopher Labruzzo, I know him, Campbell,
Kim Campbell.
Mary Hansel. Gosh, so many of them.
I mean, so many great.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget Sean Crane and Pat Siracusa.
Yeah.
Liz Jack, who's now running
Jack's
for judge.
running over there
Love
now.
her. Just brilliant legal mind, that lady right there.
There's Greg Groger and Phil.
Oh yeah, Phil. You're the one that's good with
Yeah,
names.
he's up in Dade City.
We love you, Phil.
We love you, Phil. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just call you something else in private, so I'm not gonna. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so and then you did criminal for the firm for
Yeah.
before you had your first child.
Yeah, criminal defense and lots of traffic court. It was so much fun doing all that.
You did a lot of traffic stuff, but you had some pretty crazy criminal cases too.
I did. I had the shootout at the OK Corral
Yeah,
in
you had
Plant
the
City,
one,
like
we can't
5 minutes from my parents' house.
Yeah, like everybody
Lord.
on ATVs with guns shooting at each other in the middle of a trailer.
Yeah.
That was right towards the end of your time when you were litigating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you had Stella Rose.
Yep. Oh
That
my
was
gosh.
2014.
Yep. We had a long struggle to have our baby, and she was just a dream come true.
Yeah, and then Bo in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Bo Henry John.
Oh my God. He's my little angel.
So since you've kind of taken a step back from the office, what have you been doing with your time aside from being a mother of the year?
I do
of
love
the
being a
years.
mother. I do love it. Well, I sort of took up photography, and now I have a photography business, Dina Sheridan Photography.
That's blown up. I mean, you've done professional photography. You've done it for sports events. You've done it for newborns. You've done it for couples. You've done it for professional photos for people. And I mean, yeah. So
Yeah, I love it. It's great. I mean, mainly I do headshots and like children and families.
and not only that, but then also dance. I mean, you have a
Oh
pretty
yeah,
big
I
passion
mean,
there.
I've danced. I actually really took up ballet in earnest, which is like my passion. I took a smattering of classes here and there growing up, but really when I was 30 was when I really started. I got up on point shoes for the first time in my life when I was 31 years old.
But you've for a, I don't know if you'd call it an amateur ballet person or a ballet aficionado or a practitioner of ballet, but
Balletomane is the word
Is that what
for
it's called?
Yeah, somebody who loves ballet.
I mean, you've had some pretty amazing experiences between training with Finest Young up in New York and getting to see ballets in France and London and San Francisco. And am I missing any?
I mean, and then a ton here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
So, and you've gotten to work with some pretty amazing people too. Who's the guy that you always see when they come down here? The show that's
Oh, Marcelo Gomez.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he's a superstar. Yeah, and he like told me if I ever wanted to come backstage to ABT when he was there, but he's no longer with ABT, American Ballet Theater. Oh man, love it. But lots of cool people. And actually, I got to meet Jean Chavone, who's actually the photographer for ABT, because I flew up to New York in one day. I flew directly to a huge dance store, bought a leotard, went into Central Park, and took part in the world's largest gathering of ballerinas on point. And actually, we took the Guinness World Record. So I have a Guinness World Record.
You have two, don't you?
I have two, actually, yes. And one I got. You have one too.
I know. There's another thing you dragged me into. What was that?
Yep, it was called Thrill the World, where you learn the Thriller dance, and people all around the world simultaneously dance it. And we broke a record that night doing Thriller in full on. We did a mummy bride and groom, which was awesome. We have great pictures.
Somewhere on YouTube, 2/3 of Busciglio Sheridan show are dancing in zombie makeup, the Thriller at the old pier in St. Pete.
Yep,
So,
you can look it up.
a couple other things I wanted to ask you about. You've kind of become an unofficial ambassador for X-Force, which is a new gym that's opened up here locally.
Yeah.
You kind of really did an amazing job there. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I never really had like a weight issue growing up. I was always kind of
Until you met me.
long and lean, right? No, I was always kind of long and lean,
Yeah.
and I was active, But after having the two babies, I had weight that I couldn't lose. I was like 20 pounds heavier than I had ever been, And I tried this new workout program, which focuses on negative resistance training, these high-tech machines that the weight stack actually moves to make it harder on certain movements. And I ended up dropping 25 pounds, and
You got back to like the weight you were at when you were cheering, right?
yep,
And you're
yeah,
still there.
right
You
now
maintained it.
that's how much I weigh. It's the same weight I made when I was 17 when I tried out for Bucs Cheerleader.
So it's two workouts a week, 20 minutes each?
Yep, I mean, and I try to knock them out in 15 minutes. So literally, I'm doing 30 minutes of workout a week.
And you bring the kids with you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. I
Where's
mean,
the-
it's not like they have they don't have childcare there or anything, but it's just like nobody else. There's only ever one person ever else there
We
working
have a
out.
dedicated trainer for the 20 minutes.
Dedicated trainer, and then the babies just hang out, and it's so fast that you don't have to worry about it.
And it's like one exercise one machine, one set,
Yep.
2 failure, negative resistance, all that.
Yep.
And
Like
then-
5 to 7 reps. That's it.
So
Love
before we wrap up, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your charitable work because you've
Oh, yeah.
been involved with Metropolitan Ministries.
Mhm.
What was the thing that we just donated close to and did some stuff with? It's over
Oh,
there.
Faith Cafe.
Faith Cafe.
Really cool. Yep.
Yeah, but really the kind of big one in which kind of occupying a big part of your time now. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Friends of Joshua House Foundation is the kind of like an auxiliary fundraising arm that provides money to Joshua House for wraparound services, like things that foster kids wouldn't normally get to do, like extracurricular activities after school or going to a movie or some therapies that are costly, different things like that. So that's what Friends of Joshua House Foundation does, and it's for abused, neglected, and abandoned children. And as a mom, especially, it hits home. I mean, I cry in like half the board meetings hearing
But
stories.
you've been involved with that for like how many
Yeah,
years
it's
now?
been about 10 years now.
Yeah.
But this year, they asked me, and I agreed to head up the Child Abuse Awareness Benefit, which is, I think it's the biggest in the whole Tampa Bay area. There's 500 to 650 people attend, judges, the mayor, CEOs, law enforcement, everybody goes, because it's such a big deal. And we have a big problem with the foster care system in Florida. And right now, Joshua House is actually under attack. The group, Children's Home Society, that owns the property is trying to basically shut us down.
Right.
So we're dealing with that. I mean, I don't even know how much I can really talk about, but
Well, if
that's...
people can help, people that are listening, I mean, for
Yeah,
the event.
well,
for
I
the-
would, yeah. You know what? Contact us at Friends of Joshua House Foundation to get some tickets. That's probably one thing you can do right now to help save us.
And where do they find that? Is there a person to call, or is there a website, or is there a social media presence?
Yes, Dee Dee Grundell is the one that runs the show there. She's our executive director. And of course, I don't know the website right off the top of my head.
We can link it in the post when we post it on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, friendsofjoshuahouse.org, I think,
Yeah.
is what it is.
And when is the event supposed to be?
April 17th, 2020 at Armature Works.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's just a lunchtime event on a Friday, so anybody can go. Lawyers and judges and everybody goes because
Right, it's a big event with everybody
right-
in law enforcement and legal community.
But
there.
it's like it fits right into their lunch hours, is what I mean. So it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure to spend an hour with you.
You're welcome. We name dropped all of our friends. We didn't even name drop my most famous person I've ever met.
Well, we could.
Factoid.
Well, God, I'm hesitating going into certain areas like all the tour buses that you've ended up
my
in
God.
somehow. But
Every 90s country artist
Oh
I
my-
basically hung out with.
yeah, every time there's an old Star Search clip on, she's like, I know that guy, I know that guy, I know that guy, I know Leonard Skinner, I know the Allman Brothers, I know George Strait, I know Ty Herndon, I know.
I know.
And there's a whole period of Dina's life that I'm very glad I wasn't involved in.
It was all good, clean fun. I
Not,
can
not that
assure
there was
you.
any craziness going on, but I'm a pretty don't have the most self-esteem in the world, and there was a period there where she was
Oh.
hanging out with some movers and shakers. Although, well, we'll talk about the most famous person, but my nickname for Dina is George, and the reason I call her George is I tell this story all the time, and there's a picture to prove it. She was in Las Vegas with her sister and one of her friends, and they were at a club, and Mickey Rourke approached them and started dancing with them, and passed a letter on a napkin to my wife, and he said, sorry, Florida Bar, you're fucking Georgious, because he couldn't spell gorgeous. And so I think we still have that napkin.
With his phone number on it.
With his phone number. I haven't tried calling it. But
Which, by the way, did you remember that the extension, the first three, was 666? And I'm sure he did that
I'm
on
sure
purpose.
he bought like a vanity area code or
Right,
something
right.
like that. But
Yeah.
so I call her George.
He was very nice, by the way.
No, I know, but George, short for Georges. That's one of my nicknames. I'm not going to tell you the other one, but
Thank you.
yeah, that's probably not good for anybody. Who's the most famous person that you know?
Oof. It's a
Or
little.
that you met?
It's a little controversial, but I feel like it's kind of like the top person that anyone could ever meet. That's how I kind of feel about
Although
it.
J-Lo is
I did meet
becoming
J-Lo.
more, yeah,
I did meet J-Lo
Yeah.
at the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
yeah,
Literally at the Puerto Rican Day Parade with Big Pun. Was that his name? Yeah.
Big Pun,
Big
yeah.
Punisher. Yeah. Anyway, they were waiting to go in the parade, and we walked right up to them. Anyways, but no, it was Michael Jackson, the King of
Yeah,
Pop.
yeah.
I mean, come on, that's a big.
Was that at his park that he had, or no, it was the park
No.
and boardwalk and baseball.
Yes,
Now I'm
it
remembering
used to be it used to be Circus World, then it became Boardwalk and Baseball. And my friend Jenny Schmidt-Etter's dad worked there, so we knew he was coming that day. And he parks his limo underneath. He and a young boy that's blonde. At that time, it was 1987, y'all. I mean, it probably was Macaulay Culkin. This is 1987. Like, this is when his star is like super on the rise. He's pretty huge, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he loved roller coasters, as we all know. So he got out. He walked up the underneath steps. And him and the boy sat in the front row. His bodyguard sat in the next row. And then, like, 5 rows back, we were allowed to sit and ride. Me and my friend Jenny, because her dad worked there. So we rode it. He rode it like 5 times in a row. So did we. And then after, he went down, and we went down to the limo. And he got out, and he had his white glove on. And he shook our hands with his white glove.
I didn't know you actually touched the King
Oh,
of
yeah,
Pop.
absolutely.
Wow.
The white glove. And he was very sweet. And he had the high-pitched voice. Hi, nice to meet you. You know. And he signed an autograph for each of us. I lost mine. And I just hit the table.
That's okay.
Okay. And
I'll send you a bill.
I contacted Jenny, and she still has her. So she sent me a photo of it. They look the same, the autographs that he gave me and her. So I have one. I mean, it looks
do like
like
an Ocean's 11 on her house and go in and take hers.
right. I know,
Drop you
Jenny.
into the skylight.
I still keep in contact with her, so maybe I'll send this to her and warn her in advance.
That's funny. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. I know that there's any number of other stories that we can tell, so maybe sometime you'll come back on.
I would love to. You're awesome.
All right. Thanks, babe. I love you.
Adore you. Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.